You were never loud, not because you didn't have thoughts, but because you learned early that having them was risky. You learned to read the room before speaking. You learned to scan faces for mood shifts. You learned to disappear just enough to stay safe. And people praised you for it. They called you mature, easy, low maintenance. But what they never saw was the constant tension behind your eyes, the silent calculations, the way your body never truly relaxed. Here is the paradox no one talks about. The same quiet that once protected you is now the thing suffocating you. As a child, silence was armor. As an adult, it becomes a cage. Let's name this accurately, because naming it is power. Emotional neglect, not abuse, not screaming, not violence, but something quieter, more invisible. Emotional neglect happens when a child's inner world is consistently unseen, unmirrored, or unmet. No one asked, "How did that make you feel? What do you think? What do you need right now?" So the child adapts, and adaptation is not healing. It is strategy. Hypervigilance. Your nervous system learned to stay alert, not to danger, but to disapproval. You became attuned to micro-expressions, tone shifts, silences, your brain's default mode. Network, the system responsible for self-reflection, became overactive. You didn't rest in your mind. You monitored it. This is why quiet children often grow into adults who overthink everything they say, replay conversations, feel exhausted after social interaction. It's not social anxiety. It's a nervous system that never learned safety. Avoidant or anxious avoidant attachment. You learned a painful equation: connection equals risk. So you stayed close, but not too close, present, but not fully known. You learned to self-soothe instead of asking, to minimize needs instead of expressing them. This isn't independence, it's relational self-containment. Parentification, often emotional. Many quiet children were the emotional adults in the room. You sensed tension. You stayed calm to keep peace. You didn't add burden. You learned that your role was to regulate others, not be regulated. So you became responsible, self-controlled, emotionally restrained, and deeply, quietly alone. 3. Emotional cost and philosophical weight. The invisible grief. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." But there is another burden, rarely named, the unlived life of the child themselves. You sacrificed spontaneity for safety, authenticity for acceptance, expression for survival, and no one told you this was a loss worth grieving. So you grieve silently. You fear being a burden, being too much, being seen without control. You crave rest, not sleep, but existential rest, the rest of not monitoring yourself. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than reality, but for you, imagination was reality, because your mind became the place where everything was processed alone. Rilke wrote, "Perhaps everything that frightens us is, in its deepest essence, something helpless that wants our love." Your quiet is not weakness. It is a frightened protector, still standing guard decades later. 4. Adult patterns and unlearning. How the quiet child shows up now. If this was your childhood, you may notice patterns like these. 1. Relationships. You attract emotionally intense or dominant partners because they define the emotional space for you. You avoid conflict until resentment builds. You struggle to express needs without guilt. 2. Career. You work hard but stay unseen. You hesitate to self-promote. You wait to be noticed instead of claiming space. 3. Boundaries. You say it's fine when it isn't. You over-accommodate. You feel responsible for others' comfort. 4. Emotional regulation. You intellectualize feelings instead of feeling them. You stay calm on the outside, overwhelmed inside. 5. Self-worth. You equate value with usefulness. You feel undeserving of care without productivity. 6. Identity. You know who others need you to be, but struggle to answer. Who am I when no one is watching? These are not flaws. They are adaptations that outlived their usefulness. Unlearning does not mean becoming loud. It means becoming true. 5. Healing and closing. From survival to wholeness, healing begins gently, not with force, not with performance, but with permission. Permission to take up space, feel without explanation, speak without rehearsal. Inner child work. Ask the quiet child, what did you need that you never received? Then offer it, slowly. Shadow work. Your suppressed voice is not gone. It lives in the shadow. Bring curiosity, not judgment. Nervous system regulation. Safety is felt, not thought. Breath, stillness, softness. Teach your body that silence is no longer required. Remember this. You were never quiet because you had nothing to say. You were quiet because no one made it safe to speak. And now, as an adult, you get to rewrite that rule. Not to become louder, but to become whole. The goal is not to be fixed, but to become whole. If this resonated, share it with someone who grew up learning silence. And if you want more deep psychological explorations like this, subscribe. Your voice matters now.